You don't want total freedom. You think you want that because that's what we've been told our entire lives to strive for. But what you really want is agency. Now, let me see if I can prove this to you. When we were kids, one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to grow up was to have the freedom to do what we want, to know that our choices are our own. Our parents had a say in most of what we did when we were children. We couldn't go over to a friend's house unless we asked them first. We couldn't choose a certain career unless our parents approved of it. We couldn't wait to have the ability to choose whatever we wanted to choose. But what happens when you get there? When you get to the point where there's an endless amount of possibilities you could go, and that leaves you completely paralyzed. This is the paradox of freedom, is that once you attain freedom, what you actually want isn't more of it, it's less of it through agency and through using your agency to restrict your freedom. I think it's the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre that says the extreme butterflies we feel when we're looking over the edge of a cliff isn't because it's a very tall height and because our biology is signaling to us, hey, this is dangerous, don't do it. Although I think that is part of it. But because we know we have the choice to jump off that cliff. We know we could if we wanted to. And that's what gives us anxiety, knowing we can do anything. And I think in general, people have a lot more freedom than they think. Technically, you could just completely start an entirely new life. You could scalp up as much money as you possibly could, buy a one-way ticket somewhere, and try to build up an entirely new identity, a new life. You have the freedom to do that, although the consequences would surely be potentially catastrophic. And right now, I think you even have more freedom with your day-to-day routine than you think. A lot of it, yes, is restricted. It's not by your own doing. And this is why we think we want freedom, because as we grew up as adults, we didn't actually get the freedom that we thought we were promised. We realize, oh, there's a lot of things I need to do to survive. I need to pay my bills, and I need to have enough money left over to pay for food and for shelter. And the only way I can get the money required to pay for those things is to get a job. Oh, okay. Well, let's see. What jobs could I choose? I guess I'm kind of restricted in that sense. The job market's pretty terrible. Now I got to choose this job I don't even like. And basically half your day is spent being ordered around by someone who has agency over you. You don't have the freedom to choose what you do during those hours. And then when you get home, you feel like I don't have enough energy to even go on and try to figure out how to break out of this system. But you do have the freedom to choose what to do with your time, at least outside of work. But we don't really want to admit that. We don't want to admit that we could choose to be a person who goes after their goals. We would like to believe we don't have as much freedom in what we do. And that is not to dismiss systemic oppression. It exists. We all have limits to how easy it is to achieve things in this life. And it's going to vary based on how we look, how other people perceive us. Those things are very real. And the system that we live in, they're very real. And I'm not dismissing that by saying you have more freedom than you think. I'm just saying, like, philosophically, you could technically choose to live a completely different life than you are right now. But you'd rather not, because we actually like not having the total freedom to choose whatever we want in this life. And that's what I mean by people don't want freedom. It's not that people don't want control over their actions. It's that if they had the possibility to do anything that they wanted, I think that would paralyze most people. You don't want the ability to do anything. You want the ability to have control over what you do. Think of a person who has no responsibilities. Having no responsibilities is true freedom. Do you think they're truly happy with their lives, having no responsibilities and no sense of purpose. Because that is what a life of complete freedom looks like. No responsibilities, no purpose. I would argue that they're very lost. They don't know what to do with their time because they have too much freedom. So what do you do when you have all of that time and lack of responsibilities? Well, you use the agency you have to create responsibilities that restrict your freedom. Any successful person or anybody who has that total freedom because they are, let's say, living with their parents, and their parents are they're very understanding of your situation, and they just let you kind of live at their house and do whatever you want, and they're not really pushing you to get a job or anything. Like that type of person, what would make those people's lives more fulfilled is if they restricted their freedom at that point, using their agency. And purpose and responsibility imply narrowing your freedom. When you have a purpose, it means you're aligning yourself to a certain lifestyle, to a certain goal. When you have goals, that immediately implies that they're things you cannot do. So if you have the goal to, let's say, make $100,000 in a year, well, that immediately implies you can't slack a lot. You cannot play video games a lot. You cannot go out every single day and just party. You have to restrict yourself from doing those things if you truly want to reach that goal. And that person, I believe, when they have that strong purpose, that strong guiding light, will be more happy, fulfilled, and at peace than the person with no purpose, no responsibilities, and no goals, which is the person who has ultimate freedom. So this is why I say what you're really looking for is agency, because if more of what you were doing on a day-to-day basis was things that you could control, it was things that you decided you were going to do and no one else had a say in them, then even if you were working tons of hours a day, you would be way more at peace, way more fulfilled than if you had complete and total freedom. So no, you don't want endless options. That's not what you should strive for in life. You don't want to relieve yourself of all responsibilities and relieve yourself of purpose because of that. You want to create a life in which you can say you want to do something and you can actually do it. And you want to be able to work on things that restrict your freedom, but they're things that you actually want to do. It's that simple. The question is, how do you create a life like that, right? It requires first expanding your freedom. This is like a 3-step process I kind of explained in my 20-year-old man-child epidemic video. If you want to get this lesson explained through a story, then you can check out that video on my main channel, the 20-year-old man-child epidemic. But it's a 3-step process it's a 2-step process. I just went back to the video and checked out that specific part. The first thing you want to do is increase your ability to make your own choices. And then the second step in that process is to reduce the amount of choices you're allowed to make. So it's related to purpose and related to having something you're working on that doesn't allow you to do a lot of things, but gives you direction and agency. That's the true freedom people want. They want the agency to know that the freedom they don't have is because of them and not somebody else. There. That was what I was trying to get at the entire video. That's exactly it. Think about that. So really ask yourself, how can I restrict what I do? How can I create this purpose or identity that denies myself of many different things that I technically have the freedom to do? And through that discipline of restriction, you'll probably see more success. You'll probably gain more money and your finances will be taken care of. And then you'll have you'll gain freedom, which is what many people think they want. And then you'll realize, oh, I actually need something to be working towards. And to have a goal and a purpose means I need to restrict myself again and focus on only a few core things again. I'll be explaining this through a story as well in the novel that I'm writing. I'm currently in the middle of writing a novel about a 21-year-old who goes through this very tragic loss and develops the ability to see into a parallel reality. A lot of different themes in this book: existentialism, psychology, neuroscience. It's kind of like a self-help fiction book, and I think you'll really enjoy it if you enjoy my videos. If you want to get updates for the novel as I'm writing it, then you can sign up for my newsletter, link in the description. And if you want to join a group that will help you figure out what type of freedom you don't want to have, what you don't want to do, what you want to restrict, and what you want to create your identity towards this mission, then you can join my self-mastery school, which helps you do exactly that. And we meet in a video call once a week to discuss ideas related to personal development, self-actualization, like I discussed in this video. So link in the description to that as well if you want to join. And that is it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.